The journey that is the 2022 iRacing special events calendar heads to the Knoxville Nationals for the sprint car capital of the world. Today, 60 drivers that have worked their way through the course of the week to qualify for today's super session will battle out to be crowned the second iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. Hello everyone, welcome to RaceSpotTV alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted to be joined by Joshua Lee. And Josh, we're coming off a summer where you and I have seen plenty of dirt racing. However, that was with the bigger trucks, that was the off-road racing. We've commentated on our fair share of dirt ovals before. We know the competition will be stiff here tonight.
And compared to the pro trucks that we saw in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, they might have about the same horsepower, but the power-to-weight ratio is way, way lower in these 410 sprint cars that are about to go racing around a track that it's not as tight or as short as an I-55 or even as an Eldora, but it's just as fast and it's just as hectic once these drivers get up to full song and they go racing around this course.
Going to be fun. Qualifying just moments away from getting underway, but let's quickly talk to you about that iRacing special events calendar. It's great that starting last year we got to focus on the dirt oval events. This is the 12th of 21 special events. After this we go racing NASCAR style in the same week that road races head down under to the Bathurst 1000. The next time we focus on dirt is for the Crandon Championship, but we finish off the season with the Chili Bowl heading inside for what's always an electric ride. But Joshua Lee, for this second iRacing Knoxville Nationals, a field of 60 qualifies for this super session at the short half-mile dirt oval. Just 8 degrees of banking with several track resets the drivers will have to contend with through the course of the night. It's a facility known as the sprint car capital of the world, hosted the Knoxville Nationals since 1961, and every year since then they're all looking to become winner number 2 after Tyler Schell fended off Alex Bergeron in style in 2021.
And in the sim, it is just as coveted to win the iRacing Knoxville Nationals as it is to win the real Knoxville Nationals, because in the sim, this is the big dirt oval event for the season. You talk about the iRacing special events, of course, road has plenty of endurance events. Now we have the dirt road license having the Crandon Championship, and now here in the sprint car side, it is this race that is the big mainstay of the iRacing special event calendar. Everybody wants to win, but they've got to fight through a lot of different hurdles to get to that finish line.
Yeah, let's not mince meat. It's a tough ride for some. It will be easier for others. The Alphabet Soup, of course, will be the main challenge for some, but for those that can get to the front in qualifying and then work their way through the short heat races, they'll find themselves directly headed to the A-main/feature event. Qualifying splits the field into the heats, with position 1 going into heat 1, second heat 2, and down and down and down and down through the field of 60. For those who finish at the back of their heats, though, they've got some work to do starting in the E-main, Josh.
Yeah, and through that alphabet soup, of course, we're going to take the top 4 from each of those, but you can see they won't advance directly to the feature like in the heat races. They'll advance just to the next main that is up next. So whoever advances from the E main just goes to the D main, then to the C main, B main, and then once you're in that B main, we're only going to take the top 4 out of that to then advance into our feature. So if you're down in the E main, Arjuna, you've got a long night and a rough night ahead of you if you want to qualify for that feature.
And the E main is super short. It's where drivers will be the most desperate. As we work forward, there's a little bit more time to find a way forward, but still not many spots. From 22 spots in the A main, 18 of those are determined after the heat races. You do not want to put yourself in a difficult situation. So qualifying gets underway. 3 minutes thrown onto the clock. The drivers get the track to themselves, and a couple of attempts here at the half-mile oval. What's going to be crucial for qualifying, Josh, of course, with open setups and the adjustment on the wing.
And through qualifying, of course, you can see this track layout right now. This track is not properly worn in. It's still very, very moist. It's not, you don't see that blue groove starting to go over. So these drivers are going to have the maximum amount of grip here. They're not going to need a ton of adjustment to that wing. But of course, the higher that wing goes up, that is going to free up these cars. And the lower it goes, that is going to tighten them up. So make sure you watch for those wings. Once the track starts to wear over, you're seeing those wings get clicked down, 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 and down till they're almost all the way down to those front wings.
We only have one current World Championship license holder as we watch Aiden Berline spool himself up. Of course, the World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Series back on iRacing after a year off. It's The sprint cars turn in a couple of weeks' time for the qualifying series to get underway. Then, of course, the focus will turn to the iRacing Esports Network and the main championship later on this season. Qualifying right now, as always, is close, with a tenth of a second splitting the top 20 cars. 60 seconds are still left, with only about 8 cars still yet to set a lap time. Beerline sits 52nd right now. It seems like lap number 2 is where you find the speed as he works through turn 3 for the final time. The pressure is on, and it's a 14.267. Beerline goes to the top.
A beautiful lap from the only World Championship license holder, as you mentioned, Arjuna, but I'm looking at those other sprint car names that are in the field. How about Landon Cardoza, who sits 5th right now? I just saw Clayton Davies, who unfortunately did not put down a great lap in the number 41, or the number 3, excuse me. He's currently scored in 56. I'm excited to see what he'll do through the heats. There goes that number 3 up into 8th place. I'm used to seeing him in the qualifying series. He was in the NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Championship in the iRacing service in the last season that just concluded earlier on in 2022. So those names up at the top, they are some of the best of the Dirt Oval license, especially Aiden Beerline being at the top right now.
And so remember, 6 heats. They're going to be 10 laps in length apiece, with the top 3 advancing directly to the feature. It'll leave the rest of those drivers looking to scramble through the alphabet soup, but we are ready to get underway with the racing action. Qualifying, as always, is tense. But who has performed the best? Who starts at the front for the first heat of 6? We'll run you down through the starting grid as we get the racing action underway for the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. It'll be Aiden Beerline on pole position. What a great qualifying performance from him. David Allen will be alongside. Aiden Forster, Callan Sabo, row number 2, with Brandon Veers and Matthew Staple behind them. It's going to be 10 cars, of course, in each of our heats, so a big field of competition. Randy Fritsch, Sarah Yerves, Chase Harden, and Joe Demozic round out the field of 10. Going to be interesting to see how the lines develop over the course of the heats. We are going to see several track resets, Josh, but they're not going to be many as we start off the night.
And there's not going to be a ton coming up very, very soon. So through these heat races, of course, we're in heat race number 1, upwards of 6 heat races tonight that we'll have, with 10 drivers being in each of them, making up the 60 drivers that we had qualify. But through these heat races, that track is going to continue to develop. Everybody in heat 6 is going to be racing on a completely different track than any of the drivers here in heat 1. You can see no groove developed yet on the course here at heat race number 1. Make sure we check back heat race number 6, because it is going to be completely different.
Expectations as we get ready to get underway.
I think the biggest expectation is the unexpected. I mean, I know it's cliche, but we really only see this event once a year. Yes, we saw, of course, Knoxville be a part of the iRacing World Championship calendar with these sprint cars. We're seeing it on the late model calendar as well. But the Knoxville Nationals in the service, we haven't seen for a full year. How are these drivers going to race now that there's really nothing on the line except bragging rights and to be shown that you are an iRacing special event winner? Will these drivers race aggressive? Are they going to be kind of laying up on each other? We'll have to find out.
It's been interesting over the course of the week for these drivers to develop their setups, to figure out where they need to perform relative to the competition. Points paid out every single night this week. It's built to 2 super sessions, one earlier today. This very much, though, the feature night, the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, ready to bring the action on track, ready to get underway for the first of 6 heats. It will be Aiden Beerline that gets us underway as he storms to the lead of the race. A great jump from the number 1 car. Allen able to hold on to 2nd, but of course the fight will be for that transfer position. The top 3 breaking away nicely.
Top 6 single file out, make that the entire field single filing out as they race back to the front straightaway and back already to turn number 1. Battle for 2nd starting to brew between Forster and Allen as the 20 gets physical, trying to get to the inside of the 01, but in turn 3 can't get there. We sit on board with your 2nd place rider. Remember, top 3 advance as they go across the start finish line once again.
Now riding on board with the 33 of Sabo. Great cameras provided to us tonight by the wonderful Dougie Beard. Really get the sense of the physical nature of these cars. Currently all running in a single file, but still working lap 3, separation building from 6th to 7th positions, but right now, no fighting for that crucial 3rd spot.
There's a battle, one spot back in fourth. That is Veers and Sabo as they race for that fourth position. Not racing for any spot in the transfer, but they are racing for a better starting grid, maybe a different main, but down to the inside goes the 18 of Sabo trying to get that spot, but Veers with a big defensive move in 3.
We've seen in the World Championship these guys and some of these cars fighting so close. They'll put on a show for you. That's guaranteed. For now, the 25 holds on, but crucially, losing track of those in front halfway through the opening heat of the night. The top 3 looking stable as they fight side by side for 4th.
Still fighting side by side through 1 and 2. Again, a big run from Sabo on the outside. Can he clear Veers? Yes, he can. Give the spot to Kellen. Sabo for 4th. Still has a good bit to go before he reaches 3rd place in Aiden Forster, but Kellen Sabo up 1 spot now into P4, a little bit closer to the transfer, but with only 3 to go.
If you're watching on RaceSpotTV, let us know who you're cheering on for. Who do you expect to go far? Who do you think will struggle over the course of the night? Beerline now starting to stretch the legs. 8/10 clear of Allen, who's still feeling the pressure from behind the bright green number 2 of Forster. Still very much tracking down that number 6. Behind them, Sabo Veers trying to close, but increasingly it's Stables that's looking to find the pressure. 2 laps ago coming to the white flag.
And white flag this time by. We'll take the checkered here. Arjuna through 3 and 4. And Aiden Beerline, a very, very easy win for him. Allen and Forster going to cruise to a transfer.
What a statement from Beerline to put the field on notice that he is not here to play, dominating his way to the opening heat win of the night. What a run for Beerline, who's still got a long way to go. He'll have a long way to wait now as well. He won't go racing until we get underway for the feature at the very end of the night. He advances along with Allen and Forster, while 4th through 10th look to go through the alphabet soup and fight their way forward. So that was Heat 1. Still many races left to go tonight. Let's dial you down through Heat 2 and the starting grid. Jeff Kramer will start inside of Clayton Davies with Corey Wenzel and Michael Cooper right behind them. Ryan Washock and Bradley Sodano across on row number 3, while from 7th we'll see Hayden Tollison and Jonathan Doley in 8th. Jonathan Danley and Jeffrey O'Brien will complete the field of 10. Your notes heading out of the first heat race of the night, Josh.
Well, not much of a difference in the track from that first heat, and everybody kind of running the exact same line. They were all running closer to the inside, and eventually we'll see kind of every lane be available all the way down from the bottom of the racetrack up to the outside cushion next to those Armco barriers that surround the Knoxville Raceway. But take a look at that track. It looks about the same as we began heat race number 1. Not a ton of rubber getting laid in, not a ton of blue groove in those turns, so we're gonna see a relatively still green racetrack when we go racing in this second heat.
Of course, we did mention there will be a couple of track resets. There was one right before qualifying. There'll be one right after the B main, right before the 5-minute warm-up session that drivers who qualify for the feature will get, and then a final reset right before we get underway. Of course, being in the virtual world makes it a lot easier. We don't have to send people and machines out to get the track where we want it to be, Josh. We can click a button and it's right there.
Yeah, and it's great because normally we would not get those track resets in the real world. If you watched the feature race from the Knoxville Nationals last week in the real world, you could see that by the end of that feature, that track was completely blue grooved from the bottom all the way up to the cushion. Drivers really fighting for moisture in the feature race, and through the beginning of these heats, they're not going to really have to do that. They'll be trying to find a way around the other drivers without having to worry about that cushion just yet.
It'll be Jeff Kramer ready to get us underway for Heat 2 of 6. With Aiden Beerline already having made the statement, who responds with shot 2 of the night. Great jump from Kramer. Davies has to get defensive, chops the nose off of Wenzel. We're underway for the second time tonight. Again, it's the top 3 that single file themselves out. Hopefully, a little bit more fighting as they jockey for a transfer position this time, Josh.
They were side by side for 4th just for a moment with Washock and Cooper, but Corey Wenzel trying to chase down Clayton Davies and Jeff Kremer and stay away from the group behind as he tries to hold the transfer, still battling for 4th as there is the driver sitting in 4th of Ryan Washock back to the start-finish line. He's got a bit of work to do before he catches Wenzel for a transfer.
Was able to jump Cooper in the opening stages, and that is Cooper going for a ride. Takes Tollinson with him as well. First crash we've seen tonight.
and yellow flag on the speedway here in heat race number 2, also the first one of the night, and that was a rough wreck for Michael Cooper and Hayden Tolleson. Not sure what happened there, Arjuna, but that was a violent one to say the least. It's very easy to make contact in these 410 sprint cars. They act a lot like Indy cars or Formula One cars when they make contact. Of course, with them being open wheels, very difficult to pull the car off of one another, and it looked like that's just what happened in turns 1 and 2 to bring out the first yellow.
And we mentioned at the start that caution laps don't count in the feature. They do count in these heats from what I understand. So we will burn away a couple of laps as we work under the caution. Let's take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay, which misses nothing. And as they work through the corner, there's a bit of a slide job. Overly ambitious for sure. Up and over. That wing got torn off as well. He landed on all 4 wheels.
He did get it back on all 4 tires, unfortunately, with most of the wings, most of the bodywork gone. He had to tow it back to the pit lane, but yeah, that was just a little bit of an overzealous move, and the 327 also might have just thought that that middle lane would stay open. The 12 looked like he might have gone up towards the cushion, and they ended up just coming together. Seemed like more of a racing incident to me there, Arjuna, but both cars getting heavily damaged, and Michael Cooper going for a bit of a wild ride.
Doesn't look like the laps are actually counting right now. We'll get another look though as we cross the stripe, work around the half-mile facility again. See, no ticking over there, so still going to have plenty of laps to work after this one. Going to be a bit of a reset for some of these drivers. We haven't seen any fighting for the transfer position just yet. You know the top 3 don't want to fight. It's 4th on back that have to stop tripping over each other and look to close in that battle towards the front.
Yeah, we'll see who can do that here in heat race number 2. But remember, the top 3, of course, are the 3 fastest drivers from qualifying that's starting in this heat, and they are some of the best of the dirt oval license. It's not going to be easy for 4th on back to catch up.
It's a great jump again from Kramer, who will get us back underway as the caution comes to a close. He breaks away from Davies, almost half a second clear. Wenzel trying to close as well, but Washok in 4th. Again, not able to look forward. One of the first drivers we've seen looking up high. Sodano looks for the lunge. He almost spins himself around, loses track position to Dolly. A little bit more of an aggressive restart than we've seen so far tonight.
Now Sodano might be in trouble with Dolly and Danley behind as Danley gets into the wall. Sorry, that was Jonathan Dolly getting into the wall there as Bradley Sodano with that contact from Corey Wenzel now trying to catch back up to the back bumper of Ryan Washok in the 34, and Washok is looking forward trying to get Wenzel for the transfer.
He's trying a couple of different lines, maybe overcommitted, throws himself up into the cushion, almost runs the right sides all the way to the wall. Davies working on the back of Kramer as well, but you know he'll be content with working straight to the feature. Getting the win tonight at this second heat would mean better starting position when we get to those final 35 laps. We'll see how aggressive he wants to go.
Take a look at this battle for second place right now as Davies trying to hold off from Corey Wenzel on board with your race leader currently of Jeff Kremer. As you can see, Davies getting a little bit loose at the exit of turn 4. Now everybody's starting to work their way up towards the cushion as we go on board with Wenzel, but the gap back to Washok is closing, but it's not going to be enough. White flag here, and Washok goes for the dive, can't get there in time.
Has he now overextended? Will there be another opportunity for the 34 to go for a lunge? Final trip around for heat number 2. A slide potentially attempted for Davies. Washok thought about it too. What a battle we had. First caution of the night, but Jeff Kramer will waltz his way straight to the feature along with Clayton Davies and Corey Wenzel. Ryan Washok tried, but it was too little too late as heat number 2 sees 3 more drivers punch their ticket to the feature in the 2022 iRacing Knoxville National. There's the rundown of the results. Tolleson, the only car unable to get to the checkered flag on the lead lap. Cooper able to recover, albeit finishing 9 seconds adrift from your race leader. As always, frenetic action when it comes to the heat racing, so let's go straight down, back track side, and dial you through heat 3 and its starting grid. Cameron Pritchard will take us to the green with Gunnar Harris alongside Joshua Berkey. Sean English, row 2, with John Parrish and Trenton Parks behind them. From 7th, we'll see Josh Hofer with Jordan Mauerther alongside Bowen Smith, Cole Williams, the 10 cars in this one. Already it's getting more physical. Already we're seeing track evolution, Joshua Lee. As we work through the heats, as we work through the alphabet soup, we're going to see some more lines and some more risks being taken.
Yeah, those drivers are already starting to look around the racetrack, find where that grip is going to be. We saw the top three that advanced from heat race number 2, specifically in turns 1 and 2, starting to use a bit of that outside groove. They're not going so far up by the cushion, which is right next to that outside wall, but they're starting to experiment a little bit, get a little bit of that marbly texture off of the top of the racetrack, and we'll see if that becomes more of a viable line as the field gets rolling off beyond the iRacing pace truck for heat 3.
Gunnar Harris taking some liberties with the pace car there. As you see the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame Museum off to the outside of turn number 2. What a busy week it is of motorsports. Coming off just earlier today, or I guess it's still running because I don't have my TV on, but the IndyCar race at Gateway, NASCAR getting their second race of the weekend done at Watkins Glen. As always, a fantastic time if you are a motorsports fan. Drivers get another trip around the track before the pace car will roll off. We get underway with the third heat of the night, but at this point, I think there's a lot more tension. There's a lot more unknown when it comes to the track state.
Yeah, and those unknowns are going to start to be known once we work our way into that alphabet soup, because through the heats, of course, only 10 cars racing on the track at a time in each of these heats. That is going to start to add up. After 2 heats, both of them being 10 laps, not seeing much of that come into play yet, but we had another 10 and another 10 and another 10 and another 10 after that before we end the heat racing tonight. That track is going to be wildly different before we start that alphabet soup. Arjuna, pace truck's in, we're underway.
It's another good jump, but for the first time, second place, able to battle for the lead into turn 1. Kobe Williams does not take to the grid. 9 cars roar through turns 1 and 2. It's a tidy start, but Pritchard continues to lead. Trouble in the back, Bowen Smith and Jordan Maworth go around.
Battle for the transfers on, however, as Sean English makes contact with the outside retaining wall. Here comes Joshua Berkeley to the inside to try and make the move. He can't get there in time as the 22 of English tried to make a move on Gunnar Harris in front as well. Could not get there across the line. Berkeley still looking for a way spot for a transfer. There's the slide move for second. English can't do it, into the wall in the back.
It's a second yellow flag of the night as Trenton Parks finds himself stricken inside the wall and on his side. Optimistic lunges, I think that is for sure. We'll figure out who all came to blows in the course of this one. Let's start by picking up the pieces. What happened to the number 40 as they work through the corner, trying to squeeze 3 wide, nervy moments, and they all come into one. It ends in tears for a couple.
Into the wall goes, I believe, Cole Williams, or Jordan Manwater being the main one getting damage from that. He is towed into the pit lane. John Parrish and Trenton Parks were the 2 that got together to bring out the yellow flag. You can see the slide job up in front, and that was a failed slide job there from John Parrish in the number 9 on the car, 54 in sim, and that led to contact with Trenton Parks, and that led to this yellow flag, second one of the night in heat 3.
That would be optimistic even for a Formula 1 driver trying to my corner his way through. Dirt racing can get physical at times. This is when sometimes it's a good thing that it's virtual dirt racing, because I have no doubt there would be some fisticuffs flying around in the paddock after a move like that.
And you can be physical in dirt racing. Of course, we've seen it with the off-road, with the rallycross, and even on the dirt oval side with the late model street stocks. But very, very difficult to do that with these sprint cars. Because I mentioned it earlier, like Formula 1 cars, like Indy cars, like Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, any type of open wheel racing, you can see no fenders on these cars. They are complete open wheel with 2 wings, a front and a rear wing. Yes, it looks a little bit different than an Indy car. Races a little bit different, but almost the bones are the exact same, or the general makeup of the car is the exact same. They don't really like physical contact between each other.
And of course, big news in the dirt racing sprint car world with, of course, Kyle Larson and Brad suite working together to bring more money to the series. A bit of chaos on the start, bit of miscommunication. Pritchard able to hold off as we come into turn 1. Harris, though, almost runs straight into the back of him, trying to time the restart. Will open the door for English to bounce to the inside of turn 3. Coming through turn 4, slide job, and Pritchard straight to the wall.
He rode the wall all the way back to the front straightaway, falls to 4th, now falls to 5th, as side by side for 2nd goes English and Berkey for a moment. Does not solidify for Berkey, but to the front goes Gunnar Harris. That was a bold slide job move with Cameron Pritchard being in the wall, and now 6th place, wheel damage as well. He's out of the race.
Harris, Berkey, English still now all fighting at the front. The blue machine running almost all the way up to the wall. Berkey trying for all he can, halfway through heat 3 in the night, coming to the halfway marker of the heat. Again, Harris committed to the very top of the track. Surely that will end in tears.
Harris running aggressive. How aggressive is he going to get with that outside cushion to really use it to the best advantage? You got to get right on it. You got to slingshot off of these corners. That's exactly what Harris is trying to do as they continue to race for that win. There's a replay of what happened mid-pack and damage.
That was not a replay.
Onboard.
That was live. That was an onboard with Berkey. Maybe through traffic, a bit of trouble for them to work through. It's Harris, English, Smith now inside of the top 3 trans positions. What a crazy heat number 3.
So now that pushes Bowen Smith into the final transfer spot in 3rd, with Harris and English separated from each other now. 1 lap remaining, Arjuna, and the top 3 have swapped multiple times, and now it's going to be solidified.
Well, that was a confusing one. It will be Gunnar Harris that will take the checkered flag and the victory for heat number 3. Behind him, Sean English and Bowen Smith will work through to the feature race later on tonight, but another caution. Another crazy race, and for some, the disappointment of having to go to the alphabet soup. Let's run you down very quickly through the results before we can scroll you through the starting grid. It will be Harris, English, Smith confirmed, but only 5 cars finish on the lead lap. What a race that one was. Heat 4, locked and loaded. Let's dial you down through the starting grid for this one. It will be bringing us to the green. Sean Timmerman with Jody Letacour to his outside, Ryan Avila and Logan Mallet. Row 2, Nick Miller, Brandon Dittmer will line up 5th and 6th positions. Levi Solsgiver and William Eads will line up row 4 with Parker Birch and Cole Kapichak in the 49 machine. Man, some of these names are just looking to make my life as difficult as possible, but Josh Lee were coming off the most physical of the heat so far.
That was one of the most intense ones so far as well, but halfway through these heats, 9 names have advanced into the feature. It will take 9 more before we're done with these heat races, and I don't think we're done with the yellow flags. I don't think we're done with the aggression. Arjuna is just going to keep on growing and growing and growing as the lights come on in the sim, sun goes down. Everybody knows that is when the action gets turned up to 11.
Yeah, and that's another thing that will develop over the course of the night. It's cool in terms of track conditions. Can't get much cooler, but we're already past 8 p.m. here late in the virtual August, Josh. It does mean varying track conditions, and wind is maybe not a huge factor, but with these wings on top of their cars, it's more of a factor than one may think.
Yeah, and of course, as we run through these heat races, as the track starts to gloss over, be sure to look for those top wings because they can make adjustments to them in the car. If you see it going higher, that means the driver wants it to be a little bit more oversteery. If you see it go under, that means the driver wants it to be a little bit more understeery. We'll see what happens with these drivers on the track as they go through this heat. Track still forming that evolution, but we already saw some drivers using the cushion in the last one.
Let's turn it up for the start of heat number 4. And down the back straightaway, chaos. A car up and over, flipping into the catch fencing goes Nick Miller. It was looking tidy until it wasn't.
And Nick Miller lands back on the tires, no top wing, but gets it back going forward and aims for pit lane. That was an intense incident on the back straightaway, Arjuna. Everybody running close together. It looks for 3 wide. Contact on top of him, and man, unfortunately, nothing really Nick Miller could have done there to avoid that one.
And just keep watching, and we'll watch the landing.
Perfect.
Nah, not perfect. He's not symmetrical with the landing. I tell you what, if you are susceptible to motion sickness, look away. Right on board for this one.
I sincerely hope he's not racing in VR, because that would be a very, very nauseating one.
Or to make it worse, remember Cam Peterson, one of our drivers in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Motion and VR.
I don't think I can handle that wreck in motion and VR at the same time. Maybe one or the other, not both.
Yeah, it did look quite intense. Although, to be fair, I guess you build up the tolerance to it, just like you would do with anything else. They call it, you know, C legs, VR legs, same kind of thing. Okay, so Heat 1, we got through safely. No cautions. Since then, starting to devolve a little bit. Heat 4, we didn't even get 1 lap under our belts before the caution flew.
Well, it's the Daytona Duels syndrome, right? Because they talk about for years how if Duel 1 at Daytona for the NASCAR Cup Series is dull, then Duel 2 is going to be turned up a notch. And then if Duel 1 is very exciting, Duel 2 is going to be pretty boring single-file racing. I think Heat 1 was still some exciting racing, but obviously not a lot of aggression, not a lot of chaos. And now we're just keep getting more aggressive and more chaotic as we go through these heats.
Nick Miller has no wing, but he is ready to take this restart. Heat 4 will try and get a green flag lap under its belt. It's another good start from Timmerman. Number 5 slots in behind. No fighting for the transfer spot. It's 4th on back with a side-by-side. Mallet and Dittmer fighting to turn 3.
They race through 3 and 4. They're not fighting for the transfer, but a slide job leads to contact, pushing Logan Mallet right up to the outside wall. Brandon Dittmer wanted the spot. Now he's going to have Levi Salzgiver to the inside, trying to perform a slider on him through turn 2, back to 3. It's still the top 3 unchanged. 3 wide as they go through 4.
And they're letting the top 3 break away once more. We have managed to get a couple of laps under our belt. It's Timmerman, Laticour, Avila, the top 3 in those transfer spots, and you'd have to say to some degree looking comfortable as they run. On board with Dittmer and looking to the rearwards. Look at the head bouncing and bobbling around. Look at the lines and look at the steering input. It is a frenetic experience, whether it's real, whether it's virtual.
And that gap now from 3rd to 4th, sitting at about 5/10. What can Dittmer do to try and catch up? We go on board with Salzgiver, the Ohio native, as the 42. That is the wingless number 42 of Nick Miller. Down to the inside, lets the leaders race on. Slide job canceled by Brandon Dittmer. Beautiful defense in 3.
Yeah, I like the word canceled because that was as politely done as possible on both sides. Dittmer giving no space, Salzgiver saying, fair enough, mate. We've got enough of the race still left to go. Working 7 laps of 10 in this race. It was good to see Miller not posing too much of an obstacle after the shenanigans that we had in our previous race. I've seen the YouTube chat and my Discord DMs flare up instantly, which can only mean good things. Avila in front of Laticour as they fight side by side, coming to 2 to go. Can't afford to bring those behind back into the fight.
Laticour gets 2nd. Avila goes back to 3rd. As you can see now, the battle through 3 and 4 as Avila goes for the slider again. Laticour back to the bottom, side by side across the stripe. One final lap left of heat race number 4, and they continue to dance for 2nd place.
It still looks comfortable though. All they've got to do is stay out of trouble. Timmerman, Avila, Laticour all will advance. The question will be, how do they line up in the feature? A great drive from all 3. Laticour able to hold off the charge at the very dying breaths of the race. Dittmer leading those behind who will be disappointed and frustrated, but will have to gear up and get ready to go racing in just a couple of moments' time. There's confirmation, this time only Nick Miller unable to stay on the lead lap, albeit with no wing on the top of his car. What a demolition derby lap 1 was for him, but able to survive. Over then to the penultimate heat of the night, getting ready to begin the desperation moments for some who will line up in the E-main, have a long road in front of them to get to the A main. It will be Landon Cardoza on pole with Tanner Miller alongside, Brandon Vols, Zach Dijkstra, row 2 with Colby Araki and Kenny Hoffman behind them. Rolling from 7th, we'll see Casey Clark Jr., while one of the few Australians in the field racing from 8th position in Zach White, with Bailey Leeson and Kurt Quist making up the rest of the 10 cars for this penultimate heat of the evening. Getting darker at Knoxville. We'll see what we're in for heat number 5, Josh.
We've seen the chaos, we've seen the aggression through the beginning of these heat races, but I mean, I can look at Landon Cardoza at the front. He's definitely my pick to pull away with this one, but how about Tanner Miller, another fast driver in the dirt oval sector? Brandon Voiles will be starting in that transfer spot of 3rd, and we haven't seen much of a battle for the transfer that has continued on through a heat race yet, Arjuna. Wondering if we'll see it here with Zach Dijkstra and Colby Araki starting 4th and 5th.
Our YouTube chat is delighted that their seemingly idle Tanner Miller has taken to the track, so we know who they're rooting for in this 5th heat of the night. 3 advance, remember, the rest go through to various lower mains and have to work their way forward. Going to be a fascinating one, that is for sure. We always enjoy putting the spotlight on the dirt community during these events. It's a shame that we don't do it more often, Josh.
I absolutely love dirt racing, love commentating dirt racing with the qualifying series coming up for the sprint cars and a brand new world championship for the sprint cars as well. Not a better time to get into the dirt oval sector of iRacing.
I tell you what, we'll try and turn it up again. Hopefully they'll last longer this time. Heat 5 is underway. Let's listen to the sounds at Knoxville. Nice and tidy with Cardoza breaking away. Miller under pressure from Dijkstra, who had a good start initially. Voiles has dropped out of the transfer positions, but they fight tooth and nail in heat number 5.
Dijkstra trying to catch up to Tanner Miller here as well. Battle for the transfers brewing. Here comes Kenny Hoffman to the bottom. Can complete the slide job move. He'll stay side by side. Can he do it in one? A big move to the bottom. Back up to the cushion. And that is a perfect slide job done from Kenny Hoffman. Now Dijkstra back to the bottom in 3.
Great view on board with the 21 of Tanner Miller, who rides in 2nd, relieves from the pressure for the time being. Dijkstra not able to get it done. We jump on board with Brandon Vols, now down to 5th position with some work to do as we near the halfway point of heat number 5.
Over to the front straightaway once again as Voiles trying to fight with the number 15 in front of Dijkstra. You can see those 3 drivers starting to stack up, but the top 3 starting to pull away as Hoffman sets his eyes on Tanner Miller in front. Can Hoffman go for the move? Can Dijkstra get himself back in this transfer fight? He tried to go for a slider for 3rd.
Casey Clark Jr. down on pit road. 1 car looks out of this race. Araki also 13 seconds back would seem out of contention. Fight for 2nd. Hoffman to the inside. Throws the slide job, but fought back from Miller, who will return the favor, slice the nose off of the number 10, but as they fight, Cardoza breaks away.
Landon Cardoza looking for the Heat 5 win. Battle for 2nd. Miller goes back to the bottom. Slide job move. Crossover from Hoffman trying to take the spot back, and he will as they come across the stripe. 3 to go in the heat. Miller settling now for 3rd. Tries to look back to the inside off of turn 2. Now here comes Zach Dijkstra to try and fight for a transfer again.
Great fighting. It will be 2 to go at the line. Can Miller hold on? Does he have the car for the conditions at the time? That's the challenge of dirt racing. Hoffman's in the wall, and Hoffman has taken Miller with him.
Miller falls now to 3rd. He's just inside the transfer as Dijkstra goes to 2nd place. Now Tanner Miller trying to hold on as on white flag, Rotra White tries to move to the inside.
What a moment to drop it. Kenny Hoffman makes the mistake, and while Landon Cardoza runs away at the front of the field, Dijkstra and Miller will hold on to advance from heat number 5. What a way to close out the night for some of these drivers in this heat section. Wow, the pressure was on. They delivered with the pressure on. Let's run you down, of course, through the results. What separation from 1st to 2nd. 1.4 clear for Landon Cardoza. Dijkstra, Miller through, but White, Voiles, Quist, and Hoffman getting ready to battle later on tonight. The final heat is getting ready to battle. Let's dial you through the starting grid for the 6th heat of the night with Timothy Smith on the inside of the front row, Johnny Anderson alongside Alex Hanna, Jerry Gatz, row number 2. Jesse Dorcas and Kevin Howie will share row 3, while from 7th we'll see Tyler Close, Todd Chrisman to his outside with James Cowman and Caleb Moan. The final cars in this field ready to battle for their chance to work their way on forward. For Kenny Hoffman, there will be disappointment, there will be frustration.
And luckily for Tanner Miller, it could have gone much more south than it did in that heat race for him, but he luckily ended up getting back into 3rd. He got back up to speed and held on to it. So he keeps his transfer spot. Now everybody else from 4th on back will have to fight out of the alphabet soup, and there was that move from Hoffman and right back onto the racetrack, and not only that, he ended up back in the perfect racing line.
Get that viewpoint on board with Miller. My word, what a moment it was. What a scary moment it would have been. Remember, there are plenty of drivers that will fight through the E main to the B main. Only 4 will advance to fight for the final 35 laps we'll see at the very end of the night.
And this is the final heat race. Now remember, the final 7 in each of our heat race fields, 4th through 10th, will have to fight out of the alphabet soup, and the top 4 from each of those will just advance to the next race that is coming up. So in the first race, which is going to be the E main, top 4 only advance to the D main, Arjuna. They don't advance directly to the feature like they do out of this heat race. You got to think the drivers from 4th up through 10th, they were desperate in the other heats. They've got to be desperate in this one too.
And one of the things that I love about these special events is that you have someone like Timothy Smith, 4th highest I rating in the field, just under 7,000 I rating. And then Caleb Moen, 59th in the field in terms of I rating, 1,400. We get to see everyone across of the iRacing universe. The field in control of Smith, who gets a great jump, as for the final time tonight, we go heat racing. Again, single file for the top 3, battling though for 5th and 6th, with Jerry Gates in 4th, looking forward to the inside of Alex Hanna as they battle for the transfer positions. A nice tidy start, comes a foul as Todd Chrisman goes around and the caution flies yet again.
Yet another yellow flag, and that was for Todd Chrisman, who just ended up getting turned around in turns 1 and 2. It was a bit of a stack up in front of him as they all raced through 1 and 2. There's the side-by-side, there's the stack up, contact with the 76, and pretty simple spin. Not going to be a ton of damage to that number 47, but unfortunately he was just slow enough on the racetrack that iRacing ended up throwing an automatic yellow flag. But Caleb Moen having a front row seat for that. Luckily the 47 spun down to the inside and didn't come back up the racetrack.
And again, caution laps do not count, so this final heat has not seen a green flag lap, at least just yet. Of course, this is a race that in the real world has seen the prize pool grow to about $1 million, which is a hefty chunk of change, and I would definitely not say no to my fair share of it, but these are grueling events in the real world, in the virtual world. Fortunately, in the virtual world, it's just an evening of a grind. In the real world, these drivers go through a lot from Wednesday through Saturday as they look to come out on top, as they look to punch their way into the history books.
And of course, if you didn't catch the Knoxville Nationals last week, it was an intense run to the finish for that feature race, and it was a great one to watch. I watched it from home, and Donnie Schatz grabbing his 11th Knoxville Nationals win. It was an emotional one for Donnie Schatz, and who knows who's going to take it here in the virtual world. We've got a handful of names we're watching, Arjuna, but other than that, we've seen so far through these heat races, anything can and will happen.
Well, with no Tyler Schell on the entry list, we are guaranteed a new winner here in 2022, so that's an exciting thing to keep your eyes out on. Timothy Smith goes early and runs himself very wide. Anderson trying to take advantage, not able to do so initially, but the green is back out. We get underway with lap 2 of 10 in the final heat race of the night.
Back through turns 3 and 4 for the field, and Timothy Smith leads the way. Battle is with second place with Johnny Anderson and Alex Hanna. How about Jesse Dacus and Jerry Gates going at it? They're going at it only for 4th as we sit on board with Kevin Howie, the Pennsylvania native, now to the inside, looking for 5th on Jerry Gatz. He's going to get that spot. The 76 gets very loose in the background, but they're still fighting only for 4th.
Love the handwork. It's so fine a line. You dance with the wheel trying to keep the car pointing straight, but they fight outside of the transfer spot, and again the top 3 run away. Now 7/10 clear from 4th position of Dorcas, who sees behind him, still 5th and 6th, battling like it's for the win at the end of the night.
Big hit to the wall there by that number 19 machine. He's able to keep it moving. Another hit to the wall in the back for Jerry Gatz. That was Kevin Howie that ended up making a little bit of contact with the wall through 3 and 4. Back through 1 and 2 for Jesse Dacus, who holds that 4th spot. He's got a bit of work to do if he wants to catch up to Alex Hanna halfway through this heat race, and nobody in a battle just yet. Everybody currently in chase mode.
Look at the lines that are being run now. The track has evolved to the point where the high line is very much preferred, but Timothy Smith is using this opportunity to search everywhere for the grip. And as you see, ramping out of turn 4, Diamond's back down through the corner. This is a driver that is in control of where he is right now, and if he takes the victory as it sits right now, he'll line up 6th in the feature later on tonight.
Of course, the top 3 automatically advancing to that feature as well. So if they're racing in the top 3, they're just racing for a better starting spot in that feature race. Of course, the entire top 18 will only be filled by heat race transferees. And as we go into the white flag, Arjuna, have a look at equal corners of the track, turns 1 and turn 3. And you can see that groove starting to develop on the inside of those turns. We won't see a reset until before the feature race tonight.
It is Timothy Smith that dominates on his way to the victory in heat number 6, as he'll line up 6th in the feature later on tonight. He takes Anderson and Hanna forward with him. We see Howie, Dorcas, Gatz, and the rest getting ready to do battle in just a couple of moments' time. It is going to get desperate from here. Confirmation of your race results and a 1.2 second advantage for Timothy Smith at the end of heat number 6. But we're ready for the first of the E-mains. This is going to be interesting with Todd Chrisman starting at the front of the field. Chase Harden to his right. Michael Cooper. John Parrish 3rd and 4th, with Cooper looking for some better luck. The 49, the 16 lining up in row number 3 on the grid. Behind them, Coman, Demozic, Tollinson, Mauerther. The top 10 with Miller, Casey Clark Jr. 11th and 12th positions. Caleb Moen, who is not going to be lining up after bouncing himself up into the wall at the end of heat number 6, has already called it quits. So 12 will look to work forward, but only 4 advance to the D main.
And that is the big thing, Arjuna, because if you think about iRacing Rallycross or any other type of heat racing that you might run on the service, you'll have the feature transferees, then you'll go into an LCQ, the last chance qualifier, and then you'll advance straight from the feature from that LCQ. That's not the chance here. These drivers, if the top 4, only advance into the next race. So the top 4 here will have to fight again out of the D main. If they make the top 4 there, they'll fight again out of the C main, make it again, fight out of the B main, make it again. Then they get to fight into the feature race. So if a driver from the top 4 here is still in the running in the B main to make it to the feature, they have truly done something special, because they get relegated back to the back of the field on each of these grids as well.
Yes, you stole the point out of my mouth. I was going to say, every time you advance to the next step, you start at the back. So you finish 4th in this race, you finish dead last in the next one. This is, again, where it will get desperate, with not much on the line in terms of prizes, in terms of punishment as well. Tempers will get frayed. The action is bound to be electric. We are looking forward to this. It all builds for the next 4 races to set the grid of 22. It's a good start from Chrisman. Harding gets swarmed immediately as they power into turn number 1. He's 3 wide on the very outside.
They continue to fight up by the cushion as contact made and a big wreck on the back straightaway. One driver facing reverse way, and the first yellow flag of our alphabet soup is out, and that was an issue with Nick Miller again. Chase Harden involved, and I believe Jordan Mawerder also getting a little bit of damage there. Let's see what happened here, Arjuna, as they ran down the back straightaway.
It started with just a poor start for Chase Harden. Let's go all the way back to the start, because this will fill in the gaps at the start. Just look at how badly he rolls, immediately loses second, and then instantly loses third and almost fourth in the blink of an eye. As they ramp off the corner, he gets a good run, but gets the run blocked, elects not to lift, gets contact once, gets contact twice, gets contact thrice, and still gets pointed in the right direction.
First yellow flag of this E-main. We go on board now. And he's running in fourth as well with Harden. 9 car comes up, just the lightest bit of contact. I mean, I've mentioned it multiple times here. These cars don't like the contact. Yes, you can bounce off of each other. Doesn't mean you necessarily want to, and doesn't mean that every time it happens, it's going to end happy.
If I can unmute myself like a professional broadcaster. 2 cars down on pit road with Harden and Miller trying to get some damage repaired. You can stay on the lead lap if you're careful. They are also joined by Joe Demosiak, but I get the feeling that at least one, if not all 3 of those cases will prove to be terminal. Yet another race where lap 1 sees a caution. I think it's the 4th time so far tonight, and we've only had 7 races, including this one.
We still got a lot of racing left to go. The D main, C main, and B main before we even get to our 35 lap feature. But the lap counter is going to continue to count upwards as we go through these mains. D main, 12 laps. C main, 14 laps. B main, 16 laps. So we'll be increasing that lap count as we go through the night in the alphabet soup.
So the lights are off on the pace car. He'll pull stage left. And the field will be back in control of Chrisman, who again gets a great jump. Michael Cooper not willing to be left in the dust this time. He's getting a better launch. Parrish behind him. Remember, top 4 advance as we work in the E-main.
Side by side for that 4th spot as Sabuski tries to hold it around the outside, but here comes Colby Araki to the inside. He did not have a good enough of a run to beat the 9. Side by side for the race lead as well. Up by the front, Todd Chrisman, Michael Cooper fighting off the corner.
Remember, you just have to stay inside of the top 4. Each position within that top 4 is a starting spot. Good launch from Chrisman as he ramps off the corner. Car spins around. That's James Coleman in the number 56 entry, but we stay green for the time being. We stay battling for the race lead.
And battling for 4th as well, Colby Araki with a slide job for the 4th spot, able to take it. Now side by side for 5th. Here comes Hayden Tolleson into the picture. He's going to go for the spot on Araki as well. Slides up to the cushion, trying to hold him off. Side by side again is Colby Araki back to the bottom of the crossover. Slider in 3. Can he make it work? Yes, he can. But the crossover from Tolson puts him back into the transfer spots.
Cooper has control of the race lead. Is now that battle for the transfer position where we focus. Tollinson with a great race so far, up 5 positions, still side by side, almost 3 wide as they work through the corner once more. Halfway through this race, they're laying it all out on the line, almost diving to the inside. Tollinson looks aggressive.
John Parrish falls back to 4th, now makes a little bit of contact. He makes contact now with Colby Araki, and that's a big flip on the back straightaway from John Parrish, and the 2nd yellow flag of the E-main is out.
Is it that point of the night when cautions breed cautions and we spend more of our race under yellow flag than we care for? There's the first bit of contact. It spears the car down low. He goes up and over. And unfortunately, there's no happy landing for John Parrish.
He almost took Colby Araki with him, but I believe Araki ended up continuing on straight, and they'll stay in the 4th spot for the transfer. And you can hear on that onboard, he was out of the gas as well, trying to get it off of the outside line and just went down a little bit too quick and did make contact with Araki, but I don't believe he took the 16 with him. No, the 16 now falling back a little bit in the field, but it was a very, very strange incident there for Colby Araki because it didn't seem like they got much damage, so they'll be closer to the back of the field, but it looks to be like that machine is all good, but they've just pulled over to the apron of turn number 1.
See what happens, of course, as more of these drivers feel resigned to their fate if they choose to keep fighting as hard as they've done so far. If you fight from here, like Josh mentioned, 12 laps in the D main, 14 in the C main, 16 in the B main before you even get to the feature itself. It will be a very long night if anyone is able to survive the grueling road that will be this alphabet soup. In total, including your heat races, 97 laps raced here tonight.
And for any driver that didn't advance through the heat race, they run 10 laps. And imagine if you're going from the E main and you work your way all the way up through to the feature. That has a ton of track time. Yes, you'll start at the back of the feature, but you'll have the most laps put on this course, especially as the track changes, than anyone tonight.
But is that a good thing? Are the drivers that have been waiting in the wings, qualified through the heats, getting geared up, ready to go? We'll find out. Remember, 4 spots on the line in the next step, the D main. Cooper with a great jump, Chrisman swarm, Tollinson continues the charge that he's got, he throws it to the inside, Araki tries as well, 3 wide as they work across the line.
Bit of a touch to the outside wall by Hayden Tollefson. This is the battle for safety. Tollefson way up by the cushion, gets too far, flew too close to the sun, hits the outside wall. He's now in that transfer spot, but he does it again. Goes back up to the cushion, hits the wall a second time, and the 40 of Jordan Mawerder into the transfer spot. Tollefson back to the inside, white flag, they're battling for the transfer, they're wrecking for the transfer on the back straightaway.
4 became 1, but Tollinson was the maker of his own doom. It will be Cooper, Araki, Chrisman and Miller that advance straight to the D main, the end of the road for so many more. What frustration it will be. What a crazy, chaotic way to close out the night for some. Let's run you down through those race results. Cooper able to break away in the midst of the fighting behind Araki, Chrisman and Miller, doing enough to get to the next stage, but starting at the back, they've still got a long road left in front of them. We say goodbye to the 49 on back. They'll be disappointed, but they had their opportunity to shine. They'll try again in 2023. From 10 laps to 12 laps, we're ready for the D main. It will be Trenton Parks with some redemption on his mind. He'll take us to the green with Logan Mallet alongside Kenny Hoffman. And Tyler Close, row 2 with Randy Fritch and Jonathan Jolly, row number 3. From 7th will be Cameron Pritchard with Parker Birch alongside with Bailey Leeson and Michael Cooper. Making up the top 10, Araki, Chrisman, as well as Miller. Those cars working forward from the E-main. That is the indication of the task in front of Cooper on back, that they start in 10th. A minimum of 6 positions required in order to make it to the next stage, in order to get to the C-main.
Nick Miller was Mr. Where Did He Come From? I think he was scored behind the 3 drivers that ended up wrecking on the back straightaway at the end of that E main, Arjuna, and look at him advancing to the D main, but as you mentioned, a lot of work to do. He starts back in P13, and talk about the drivers he has to fight his way through. Trenton Parks, Logan Mallet, Kenny Hoffman, and more that he has to try and fight his way through. Same thing with Michael Cooper. He's only starting P10 even after winning the E main.
It's not just Parks looking for redemption, the likes of Pritchard, Hoffman as well. But again, only 4 will work forward. 12 laps this time. I get the feeling we get, at the very least, 1 caution, if not a couple more.
We saw 2 cautions in that E main, which is the most we've seen in a single race so far tonight, and we'll see if we'll beat that. We might in the feature. Of course, caution laps not counting throughout the entire night, so we could see numerous amount of cautions from here on into the feature. We'll just have to see what happens and how aggressive these drivers are willing to get.
One step closer to knowing the 22 that will fight for the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. It's Parks, Mallet, Hoffman, and Close at the front of the field. It's a good start from the entirety of the field. Synced up well. Mallet trying to defend as Hoffman instantly throws it, not just for second, but looking for first as well. They fight inside of the top four. Some contact, as struggling now is Logan Mallet, but it's clean at the front. We stay under green.
They all bounced off of each other. Now they're starting to bounce off of each other for the transfer. Tyler Close has that transfer spot. He's running that outside line now, trying to hold that fourth spot. Cameron Pritchard going to be the next one in line to try and fight for it, but still 2 by 2 for the fourth spot, creating a wall with Cameron Pritchard not having anywhere to go. P5.
Chrisman retires from the race. That's his night done. Close and Fritch still fighting for third and fourth inside of the transfer position. It's Pritchard that's trying to hunt them down. Let's pick up what happened to Chrisman in the 47 machine. Almost 4 wide on the exit of the corner. It's going to end poorly. It's with that stack up that Mallet caused, and a bit of a disconnection there, but he ends up in the catch fencing.
Unfortunate for Chrisman, he had issues in his heat race as well, was able to advance to this D main from the E main, and unfortunately not going to carry on through to the C main now. But how about this battle for second place? Randy Fritch has it. Trenton Parks going to go to the inside in 3, trying to use all the way down on the bottom of the racetrack, right about where it has a little bit of moisture. You can see the entire track starting to gloss over with that blue groove. The moisture getting sucked out of this racetrack. It's either going to be right down at the bottom or right up by that outside wall where they're going to find any moisture on this Knoxville course.
And remember, no reset until we get to the end of the B main, and then we'll reset again before we get underway for the feature. An aggressive move from Parks as they battle inside of the transfer spots. Hoffman has run away. They fight behind him to advance with him. Coming to the line with 5 laps to go, as still looking down low, there are drivers committed to making the low line work.
It's not working right now for Trenton Parks. Parks lost his transfer spot to Cameron Pritchard as Pritchard goes to 4th. Now
Yellow.
Pritchard tries to block the inside. Yellow flag is out.
It's because Nick Miller has seemingly run his race along with Parker Birch. Separate incidents, yes, but we have 3 cars now confirmed missing out on the next stage of this Knoxville Nationals. We'll pick up the replay. Self-inflicted spin, running up high. Runs himself into the wall, up and over she went.
Let's go on board here with Nick Miller, the Texan, running up by that outside wall, and he just hits that is the cushion starting to develop there. Basically, it's like a small mound of dirt, all that dirt getting flown on right next to that outside wall. If you hold the back right tire on that cushion, you can slingshot around this course and run the fastest lap times of the night. If you get just a little bit too far up, well, we just saw what happened to the number 42. You don't want to do that.
I'm decent when it comes to the driving. I have iRatings above 3,000 on 3 of the license levels. Dirt Oval has been the one where I can't get out of my own head. I can't get out of trouble. My iRating, unfortunately, is languishing down at 1.5K. However, I respect just how technical it is, just how difficult it can be, how much fun it can be as well when you're racing in the heat of the battle.
Especially if you're racing around other drivers like these, some of the best of iRacing, Dirt Oval. Everybody knows that everybody can trust everybody, especially when you get up to the World Championship level. So that's why we're seeing all these slide jobs. That's why we're seeing these aggressive moves, because there's a certain level of trust to the other drivers that they know that everybody knows what they're doing. They know they can handle the moves they're going to do, and they know they're going to get it thrown right back at them the next corner.
In some ways, it's these smaller environments feel more like leagues where everyone knows everyone else. They understand how they race, who to avoid, who they can fight side by side with. Pace car will pull off, coming to 4 to go with Hoffman in the lead. The gap behind him has come down, though. He wobbles on the start, but breaks away to the tune of about 6 car lengths. It's Fritch, Pritchard, and Close that throw it 2 wide, 2 rows deep for those final transfer positions.
Trenton Parks down to the inside of close, goes for the transfer spot. He's not able to get the move made on the inside. It doesn't look like there's nearly enough moisture down there as Parks gets loose off of turn 4. Back to the bottom of the racetrack, 3 wide in front of him, and close is going to cover off that 4th spot. Keeps the transfer. Trenton Parks now having a fight with Randy Fritsch, who falls to 4th.
It's allowing Hoffman to be comfortable, but it's getting physical for these guys. Some knowing these are the final 2 laps they'll run here tonight, the final laps they'll run at Knoxville for the Nationals until 12 months from today when they go in 2023. 2 to go. Hoffman not being allowed to run away, but looking comfortable. Pritchard, Close, and Fritsch, the 3 behind.
White flag in the air for the D main, and they're still side by side for 4th. Trenton Parks trying to set something up. Here comes Colby Araki now. 3 wide for the transfer as Araki goes for it. Goes for the slider. Slides up the racetrack. Can he get it done? And yes, he can. Transfer spot to Colby Araki. What a move on the last lap.
The desperation paid off there to get the final transfer spot in this D main. It robs Trenton Parks, who started on the front row of this race, from the opportunity to advance. Frustration for some, delight for others. Confirmation, Hoffman, Pritchard, Klaus, Araki working their way forward towards the 14-lap C-Main, which is getting locked and loaded right now. It will be Voiles and Dorcas on the front row, with Sarah Herves and Jonathan Danley on row 2. Cole Williams lines up in 5th, with Levi Solsgiver to his outside. Kirkquist and Jerry Gatt 7th and 8th, with Stables O'Brien in front of Hoffman, Pritchard, Close, and Araki, who've got it all to do once again. Throw 14 laps up into the board. What a crazy race we just saw.
Unbelievable. 3 wide through the middle, mind you, for the transfer spot. It does not get much better than that, and that is why sprint cars in general are exciting to watch. How about sprint cars at Knoxville? Even better.
And Josh, we're running down the races. After this, the B main, then the feature.
Running out of time, especially for a lot of these drivers. We mentioned Colby Araki advancing into this C main. How about Tyler Close, Cameron Pritchard, Kenny Hoffman joining him at the back end of this starting grid, and they've got a lot of work to do if they want to advance into the B main. And of course, we're sending everybody that doesn't advance through the transfer spots home in each of these alphabet soup races.
Love the tension that arises, and sometimes not having the pressure of a world championship makes it a little bit better. Less physicality, less desperation from some. Let's see exactly how it will play out, though, for the 13 drivers that have lined up, because Jonathan Danley seems to have a technical issue. He is not gridded up. It will promote Levi Solsgiver up to the 2nd spot on the outside row of the grid.
Interesting for Levi Solsgiver. That's going to be a bit of a gift for him up into those transfer positions, but that also means 1 less driver for our 4 that advance off of the C main have to deal with.
So, who thinks this is last chance saloon? Who is willing to keep some friends in hand for the final 16-lap hurdle that sits in front of 4 of these drivers? We are ready to go for the C main, ready to send another 10 home, getting closer to the field for the 2022 Knoxville Nationals. Good start from Voiles, clean at the front. Solsgiver trying to hold on to 4th, the gift that he was given. Williams slots in behind. They fight for the lead into turn number 3.
Cole Williams trying to get inside 3, but a big block thrown by Levi Solsgiver to try and hold on to the transfer spot. 3 wide for the race lead. How about Sarah Yerves up the middle? Where did she come from? She's going to fall to 4th, now 5th from 1st out of the transfer, and we've got an incident with Solsgiver.
Solsgiver made the mistake, spun by himself, and then stricken in the middle of the field. There was not much he can do, was collected as those behind came onto the scene. Let's take a look at the replay. The black and green machine just so committed. Actually got a bit of contact. He was so committed to the corner. Got tagged around not once but twice. Will have some damage to the top of his car. Probably we say goodbye to the number 48.
And unfortunate for Salzgiver there. And how about that move from Yerves right up into first place for a moment. Got loose down the back straightaway, and she ended up hitting Levi Salzgiver as they were continuing to spin out. But top four now completely changes Arjuna. Jesse Dacus and Brandon Voles hold the top two. Jerry Gatz and Kurt Quist going to round out our top four currently.
It's going to give the opportunity for some to take advantage. For those that advance from the D main, not really able to make up too much ground. Pritchard is up into 7th. See if he can find those final 3 spots to take that next step. Again, if you're watching on RaceSpotTV, let us know who you're cheering for. Seeing, of course, a couple of our, as they put it, Team Millie fans. So a Dykstra supporter as well. Who do you think comes out on top when we get to the very end of the night as we crown the second iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion? Next up for Dirt Special Events is something I think you and I will both be looking forward to, Joshua Lee. Crandon Championship time as we bring the Pro Trucks back to the big house.
Pro 4s at Crandon's, where we crowned our first ever iRacing Off-Road Championship Series champion in Connor Berry. It's also where we began that season, and much like sprint cars at Knoxville, Pro 4s at Crandon are just that iconic combo that you can't miss, and you love to race it.
So, we got a green flag lap under our belt. It was chaos after that. Good start again for Dorcas, though, as we get underway. Voiles, Gatz, Quist, the other 3 in transfer spots and able to break away. Pritchard gets up to 6th, battles with O'Brien as they go 3 wide on the exit of turn number 2. There is a big separation, though, between the transfer spots and those battling behind.
Hoffman with a dive to the inside on Pritchard. Can't get the move done, so Cameron Pritchard holds P5. But for now, half a second back from Kurt Quist, who holds that final transfer spot in 4th. On board with the 11 of Cameron Pritchard as he goes all the way up to the outside cushion, looking for the moisture up there as they go 2 by 2, 3 wide for a moment for 3rd.
Getting ready for the track reset, don't forget. Voiles holds on for the moment, tucked down low. Gatz with the opportunity to build the momentum on the outside line as they funnel into turn number 3. Battle though for the transfer positions. Sees Pritchard throw the slide job 3 wide as they exit turn 4. It's heating up, not halfway through the C main here tonight.
Almost 3 wide for the transfer as here comes Hoffman on the inside. Kurt Quist trying to fight from the middle. They all single file out now through 3. Up by the cushion now, nearly halfway through this C main, and Cameron Pritchard holds the transfer spot, and Brandon Voiles is going to fall now to the outside of the transfer spot with Cameron Pritchard up to 3rd.
They're fighting for the lead as well. Dorcas made a mistake. Gatz trying to take advantage with Pritchard now tucked up in 3rd. We asked if there was any driver that would be able to work their way through the alphabet soup. Calmness has taken Pritchard to 2nd spot now. 3 wide for the race lead, past the halfway marker in the C main.
Everybody in the top 4 transfer spots are up in this lead group. Next one back is going to be Brandon Voiles in 5th in the 26. Cameron Pritchard to the race lead, back to 1 as Kenny Hoffman with a big dive bomb through 1 and 2. Can't get there. Dacus to 3rd as Gatz now fighting to that 3rd spot. Dacus hit the wall going through 1 and 2. And here comes Brandon Voiles for a transfer.
Sometimes you just have to be clinical. That is what Pritchard and Hoffman were able to do. They're not out of the woods just yet, though. A caution could still mix things up. Pritchard and Hoffman trying to break away. It's Gatz that sees the rear view mirror in effect filled with cars trying to grab that final transfer spot. Dacus and Iraqi fight for 6th as Clowns gets in front of Voiles.
Only 3 laps remaining, 3 wide now again as Tyler Coles trying to hold on to the transfer side by side between Voiles and Dacus behind as we get a great look up at top of the Knoxville Raceway. Almost 4 wide, almost 3 wide as well as Dacus to the bottom gets the transfer with 3 to go.
This is the time to come up big. Has the yellow car positioned himself well? Close tries to block the road. Around the outside, here comes Dorcas. Opportunity potentially as well for Iraqi to spring the surprise. We come to the white flag next time by.
5 cars fighting for the transfer. Currently holding that spot is Jerry Gatz. He's on the inside line. Colby Iraqi on the outside line. They make contact with Tyler Close as they send Close through the corner. White flag is out. Jerry Gatz still has the transfer. Iraqi tries to go to the inside. Contact made through turn 2. 2.
One more opportunity for the 16 to get it done. Will he get physical? Will he get the opportunity to do so? Pritchard will lead, Hoffman close, and gets on forward. Another blockbuster of a race, but it is Gats that holds on to the final transfer position.
Araki so close to advancing into the B main off of the D main, but unfortunately doesn't do it. He stays P5.
What a way to build to the final opportunity for drivers still to have the chance to get to the final stage of the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Pritchard, Hoffman, Close, and Gats will go to the B main, but we say goodbye, despite the charge, to Araki, Vols, Dacus, Quist, Stables, O'Brien, as well as Yerbs, Williams, and Solsgiver. 16 laps left, 4 to advance. The pressure will build. It will be Sabo that gets us underway with Washuk alongside, Berkey and Dittmer row 2 with Rattray, White in 5th with Howie to his right-hand side. Viers, Sedano, Hofer and Ease, the top 10 with Pritchard and Hoffman. 11th and 12th looking to carve their way forward once more, Close and Gats. The rest of the 14 cars grading up for the final 16 laps before the main event, the feature of tonight's racing action. And Josh, if you weren't tense before, you should start getting tense now.
You should start getting aggressive now, I think, is the big thing, because we are into one of the final mains of the evening. So the last chance for any of these drivers to make it to the feature. They're going to be wondering what if they don't make it happen in this one.
I'm tired. I don't know about you, Josh, but we don't get a chance to breathe, unlike some of the drivers that have been waiting around for this moment. The likes of Aiden Beerline commanding pole position, victory in heat number 1, waiting to see who he will be fighting with. After this, we get ready for the 35 laps. Many drivers, 18 to be precise, have been waiting through the alphabet soup before they return to the track.
I'm not too terribly tired. I'm channeling the power of Johnny Gibson, the voice of the World of Outlaws on Dirt Vision for so many years, and the voice of the NOS Energy Drink Sprint cars. But right now, of course, real life in the World of Outlaws world, they're racing right now in the Jackson Nationals at the Jackson Motorplex. So very similar course to Knoxville, a little bit shorter, but the real world drivers don't get as much of a break as these virtual guys do as well. So it's just exactly like we're racing in the real world, just continuing on with the dirt action.
14 cars, of course, for this race. After this, we will pack 22 410 wing sprint cars onto the half-mile facility at the Knoxville Raceway for the main event. It will be Sabo with a good launch. Can Washuk hold off Berkey? A sideways moment for the 19 will give the opportunity for Dittmer to rise to 3rd. Contact for 2nd. Chaos on the opening lap, and the yellow flies immediately to get the B main underway.
And honestly, surprising, only 2 drivers involved in that one. Brandon Dittmer, Joshua Berkey, they turned each other in the middle of the pack, and we only take out those 2 sprint cars. Damage to the 19, damage to the 44, but other than that, just a 2-car tango there, as one driver getting turned on the back straightaway. Not sure if that was related or not. Looked to be the 43.
We'll look again. We'll look from up above. This aerial coverage brought to you by ATVO. It was the act of getting onto the berm on the inside that stacked him up, then overcommitted into the corner, and then the chaos ensued. Lucky, like Josh points out, that more were not involved. But again, we slow things down on lap number 1. For Sabo, it's a good launch. He'll be looking to repeat that when we get back underway when the pace car pulls to the safety of pit lane.
But what an exciting start we saw there. It was just pandemonium around that transfer spot as they went into turn number 1. I mean, could not tell who had that 4th spot, and it was going to be very, very different once they hit the back straightaway. But unfortunately, they did not make it to that point. So we'll just be racking them up again, basically an exact replica of that original start for the B main. They're just only going to have 1 lap taken off. We'll be going back green onto lap number 2, and this will be the longest we've run so far tonight, Arjuna, at 16 laps complete.
It's great to have a great audience alongside on RaceSpotTV. These special events always bring attention. Glad we're able to put the spotlight on the Dirt Oval community for today's Knoxville Nationals. Pace car ready to pull off. Sabo looking to get the jump, but Washuk very much on the coattails, ready to launch onto the throttle. Evolution of setups will be paramount for many, with no track reset since we finished up the qualifying session. The track has very much changed since we got underway. It's a good start again for Sabo. Washok gets a terrible launch. Immediately, Sedano will jump to second. Washok gets swarmed outside now, almost of the transfer spots.
Side by side to hold on to fourth as here comes Josh Hofer to try and fight from fifth. A big diving move for Hoffman back further in the field. He puts Cameron Pritchard into the outside wall and turned at the exit of turn 4. No caution, we stay green as the battle for the transfer is on again. It's the battle for third between Veers and Washok. Hofer having to fight Hoffman now.
Pritchard is back up to speed. That is why we stay under green. They fight at the front of the field. Sabo loses out, and Sabo drops to third. Started this race on top, but just like we saw in the previous race, the pole position is not where you always want to be. Drivers finding speed behind, drivers able to adapt. It's now Howie that takes the point.
Tyler Close fighting Kenny Hoffman for P5 as the top 4 single file themselves out. Everybody trying to find different lines that they can run, but Brandon Veers has got a side-by-side battle behind him as Tyler Close goes for 5th. He'll take 5th as he slides up to the cushion. Kenny Hoffman to the bottom of the racetrack now as they complete lap 5. Still side-by-side for 5th, but they're catching up to Brandon Veers in front as they now will swarm on him too wide.
Remember, as we go longer in this night, the races get longer. The drivers experience green flag runs for longer and longer time. 16 laps for this one, 35 for the feature as a car and up into the wall will stay green yet again as we manage to survive that one. It was Veers that went spearing off to the inside. It's Close that takes the final transfer spot for now. It's Hoffman that hunts.
It's been a battle between Close and Hoffman for the entire beginning of this B main. Who will advance to the feature? Hoffman on the bottom, Close on the outside. It's going to be the test of which line is going to be better. Is it going to be the inside line or the outside line? Hoffman switches it up in 3 and 4. Now trying to run the cushion. Does he go for a slider? Does he try and follow Tyler Close further into the top 4? They've got Kellen Sabo now to try and deal with it on the inside line as they fight through 2.
And behind them, Gats in the 8 car is 2 seconds off. So at this point, it is just these 3 brawling as Hoffman gets a moment, able to get in front of Close and checks up the momentum of the 30 machine as well. Gives him the opportunity to break away. We take a look at the moment earlier for Pritchard, who runs into the wall and then gets ding-donged around, able to get up and go, but it spills the end of the night for Cameron Pritchard.
How about this battle for third now as Kenny Hoffman on the outside line, Kellen Sabo on the inside as we look on board with Tyler Close, who has a front row seat for this battle that's within those transfer spots. But if anything happens to the 2 in front of him, Tyler Close has an opportunity to get there very cattywampus as they go off of turn number 4 up on that cushion.
See how hard they're working. More frenetic now that the dirt has been displaced. It's moving around. Sabo will try down low. I think that's maybe going to compromise them relative to the pace of Close. Not going to do so just yet, but trying something different, trying to get the comfort of third. Not going to get it this time, coming to 3 to go.
Only 3 laps to go, and they come across the stripe this time by in the B main, and the battle for the transfer has sort of leveled out for a little bit. They've got lap vehicles ahead of him, and Tyler Close is still catching up to Kellen Sabo. You can see him running just the inside line there in 1 and 2. 2 laps to go this time by. If Sabo makes another mistake, he might have Close to fight with, and now they almost go side by side. Close to the inside and 1 for the slide job.
They fight for the lead as well. 3 wide for the lead at one point in time. Hoffman looking feisty on the outside. You need 2 sets of eyes with 2 laps to go. Howie, Hoffman, and Washok fighting for the lead. Sabo and Close fighting to stay in contention with the white flag ready to be displayed.
White flag is out. Sabo versus Close for the transfer spot as they fight their way through 3 and 4. It looks like it's going to be Howie with the win, but the transfer spot is out and Close around the outside is going to take it at the line.
Sabo with disappointment at the very death. Close able to get it done. What a move, what opportunistic thinking to slide their way in towards the A main. My word, the alphabet soup comes to a close. And what a show we were treated to from start to finish. Let's confirm those race results in the penultimate race of the night, with Rashok in front of Hoffman and Close, Howie advancing forward as well, Sabo, Getz, Pritchard, Eads, Berkey and Hofer, along with Veer, Sodano, Dittmer and Ratway White. We wave goodbye to them. We now have our field of 22, Josh, ready to fight in the 35-lap feature race tonight.
And this is going to be an eclectic group of drivers. Remember, we already had 18 that advanced through from the heat races, so now we add the 4 that survived the alphabet soup. 22 drivers ready to take on the Knoxville Raceway. And oh, by the way, take a look at that fresh track that we get now for this 5-minute warm-up. They'll get it worked in through this warm-up session, and we'll have a fairly green racetrack when we go racing for the 35-lap feature race.
We're going to reset it again, actually, after this warm-up, so they get 2 bites at feeling the fresh track. It's reset to 3% before the warm-up. It's reset to 5% before the A main. 22 drivers, 35 laps, and again, caution laps will not count. 60 drivers entered today, 22 left standing. 1 will be crowned champion at the end of the night. Josh, how important is this practice warm-up session for drivers to get their eye in before they go for the final time here in Knoxville?
This is an important warm-up session, and I say that really because it is. I mean, you mentioned we're going to get another reset of the track, and that is a harsh hit into the Armco barrier at turn 4. But with another reset coming before the feature race, I mean, talking about this warm-up here, this is exactly how it's going to be at the start of the next feature race, which at the start of the race, you're going to need the most trust in you and your car, because it'll be 3, maybe even 4 wide at some moments deep in the pack.
So still got 3 minutes of warm-up for these drivers. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments, take a break, and try and gather our voices before we go for the A-Main, the feature of the 2022 Knoxville Nationals. That's coming up next on RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to the sprint car capital of the world and to the iRacing.com service and RaceSpotTV, where we are ready to crown your 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals champion. 768 drivers tried their hand at this event over the course of the week. 60 drivers accumulated points and entered tonight looking to crown themselves the champion. Just 22 remain. Just 1 will be left standing in 35 laps time. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Along for the ride is the one and only Joshua Lee. And Josh, it's been a fun evening so far, but we really know that the best has yet to come.
This is the big portion of the moment when all the drivers through the heat races and through the alphabet soup have been fighting to get to the feature race of the virtual Knoxville Nationals. You mentioned Tyler Schell getting that win last season. No Tyler Schell here. We'll have a brand new winner tonight, and I think it's going to be really up in the air who gets it at the end of the night, because everybody of this 22 car field can and has an opportunity to win the race.
iRacing is great for opening doors to so many to try out these events. I myself had never heard of Knoxville before I tried iRacing many years ago now, 7+ years ago, but I have been embraced by so many different communities, being able to try so many different things. Now we get ready for the tense 35 laps of a main event for the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Practice will draw to a close. The tension continues to mount as drivers get set for the final time today to grid up and to get ready to race for 35 laps like they have never raced before. Let's run you down through the starting grid for what could be just an 8-minute race, but with caution laps not counting, we know it will take just a little bit more. Aidan Berline put it on pole position and dominated the opening heat of the night and has been waiting for this opportunity to get us underway for the 35-lap main event. Jeff Kramer will be alongside with Gunnar Harris, Sean Timmerman, Landon Cardoza, and Timmy Smith, the top 6. All drivers coming out on top in their respective heat races. David Allen and Clayton Davis, row number 4, with Sean English, Joey Ladacour, Zach Dystra, and Johnny Anderson, 7th through 12th. These drivers finishing 2nd in their heats. Logically, it continues that these drivers from 13th to 18th finished in 3rd, with Aiden Forster, Corey Wenzel, Bowen Smith, Ryan Avila, Tanner Miller, and Alex Hanna making up the 18 cars that qualified directly from the heat races. Ryan was shot, Kenny Hoffman, Tyler Close, Kevin Howie surviving the alphabet soup, getting ready to go racing from the very tail of the field. They know what it's like. They will do it once again. As we get ready to go racing, Josh Lee, it's prediction time. Who comes out on top? Who becomes our 2nd champion here in Knoxville?
You are really putting me on the spot here, Arjuna, but I have to go with, if I were to choose one name, I'm going a little bit of a wild card. Clayton Davies starting in 8th. I've seen him come up through the ranks of the qualifying series for the sprint cars. Ran in the last season of the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car World Championship here on iRacing. I think he's got what it takes to get it done. Of course, if he can survive this feature race, 35 laps on the docket, and he starts P8 right in the middle of the carnage.
I'm going boring. I'm going Aiden Beerline. For those that have,
come on.
I know, but I have to. For those that are working their way forward, what expectations can Rashok on back have in this race?
They can have the expectations of just drivers kind of flying everywhere, because we saw it through the heats, and we saw, especially when that track really started to wear, a driver could go from running very fast in the middle line or any line to immediately falling back multiple places. They got to watch for that.
768 drivers have tried their hands at a Knoxville Nationals race over the course of the past 5 days. 22 are left standing, ready to be crowned champion number 2 in Knoxville. It's a great start from Beerline, who gets the thunder going. Kramer gets swarmed as Gunnar Harris launches up into 2nd. It's a tidy start though at the front of the field. All 22 getting set for lap number 1.
We've got 2 drivers tangled up, middle of the pack. First caution of the feature race is out, and 3 make it 4 drivers involved at the tail end of the field. Looks like Timothy Smith, David Allen, Corey Wenzel, and Alex Hanna involved in this one. Wenzel up on his side in turn 3.
I was trying to be optimistic, but apparently I trusted too much. You can see the initial chaos inset, and then we were taking a look at the poor Kevin Howie, who came across the scene of the incident with not much that he could really do. It involved the likes of Timothy Smith. Let's focus in on him.
And it was just a traditional stack up of the sprint cars, a little bit of contact between the two, and my goodness, they just hooked up all the way down to turn 3. And I'm not sure what happened to Wenzel getting up on his side in that 410 sprint car, but you can see the entire group going through turns 1 and 2, starting fireworks going off as well here from virtual Knoxville. How did Wenzel get involved? It looked like it might have been his own separate incident there, not anywhere around the 2 drivers that got linked up.
I wonder if partially it was just chaos as a result of an incident, which happens. Sometimes there's only so much you can do to stay out of harm's way. So 3 cars on pit road, English, Hannah, Smith. We'll see if they're able to get back out and roll. We were able to see that through the course of the night so far. We slow it down, and as always, we remind you, caution laps do not count. We have not got an official green flag lap under our belts for what seems like it's the 5th time tonight.
And this restart, of course, with these only the initial starts being 2x2, restarts from there being single file. We saw with the restarts in the C and B main, once those bottom lanes had glossed over with the blue groove, that the drivers would all be up by that outside wall and kind of stay up there for at least through the first turn 1 and 2 section. We're not going to see that here. It is pretty much open pickings for which lane you want to choose when you're going through. Only a little bit of blue groove is starting to develop, so we'll see if anybody chooses any different lines on this restart.
Our Tanner Miller fans were concerned he was not racing. Can confirm he is, but you saw just how far back you start in a single file train. Gunnar Harris the one trying to go on the offense. Jeff Kramer able to snatch back second this time though as we get back underway. Remember, it's all about this now. The 35 laps. After this, the checkered flag flies. We crown our champion.
Aiden Bearline getting a great start, pulling away now from Jeff Kremer, but Gunnar Harris, we saw how aggressive he was in his heat race. Speedshot51.com on the car. He runs up by the cushion, right in line with Jeff Kremer across the line this time. Does he go for a move yet? He does not. Stays in line, but Clayton Davies, here comes Landon Cardoza for the move.
Inside of the top three, no movement just yet. Cardoza becomes the first to get +1 on the board, looks for +2 as he tries to slide it to the inside of Gunnar Harris, unable to get it done for now. Beerline is broken away, half a second clear at the very front of the field. It's going to now though start to be a case of, as the laps tick away, as the traffic starts to build up, navigating your way through the traffic that lies in front.
There's the slide job for second place from Gunnar Harris. He gets that spot side by side. Now back to 3. Does Kremer try and do it back? He does. A move onto the Armco barrier for Gunnar Harris. Gets a little bit too much up on that cushion. He falls only to 4th. Landon Cardoza to 3rd. Tried to go for 2nd. Couldn't get there. Sean Timmerman will take 4th through a slide job.
Yeah, but the good thing, at least for Harris, is he minimized the damage, stays in touch of the podium spots. Cardoza has worked his way forward, now looks to go one better, up to 2nd with another aggressive slide job. If any car is fired off at the start of this race, well, it is the number 9. Landon Cardoza is on a mission. Is it good enough to stop the train that is Aiden Bearline?
Jeff Kremer tried to block that move, couldn't do it. Cardoza almost dooring the number 32 to the inside of Jeff Kremer. They're still side by side. Make it single file now as Kremer got loose off of turn 2. Cardoza to 2nd. 2 of the best of dirt oval as of late. Aiden Bearline and Landon Cardoza the top 2 as they race back through 1 and 2.
Cardoza did knock the right sides into the wall. He's been doing it frequently. Is he putting stress on those right side tires? Will he find himself in any trouble as we get to the end of lap 10 of 35? Yes, the one caution has come out. It's been clean since then. Outside of the top 5, plenty of fighting going on with Ladakor fighting with Davies. Behind them, Dykstra and Anderson. Interested in taking advantage if there's any sort of trouble. And there is some trouble. The yellow flies. Sean English has gone around.
That was right as Landon Cardoza had caught up to Aiden Bearline. Cardoza is fast once this track starts to gloss over, and oh my goodness, there is what happened to Sean English. It looked like the driver in front of him, Ryan Washok, just was running the middle line, or no, he hit the wall, came down to the middle line. English tries to avoid it by running the cushion, and unfortunately couldn't avoid it for too long.
Don't think that's the first time that we've seen poor Sean English in the 22 up and over, but might be the last time. We've got 22 that started, confirmed 2 retired in the form of Timothy Smith and Corey Wenzel. We'll see if English joins them. Alex Hanna has been able to get some damage repairs to his car and stay on the lead lap. David Allen has come to pit road this most recent cycle of cautions, and he's trying to get some damage worked on his car as well.
This restart is going to be very interesting, because I mentioned right as this caution came out, it was Landon Cardoza that caught up to Aiden Bearline. They almost, I believe they did, make a little bit of contact for that race lead. So now we got to be thinking about it, Arjuna, on this start. Bearline has to shoot out of a cannon if he wants to get a gap over Landon Cardoza, because over a run on this worn track, I think Cardoza might have the car to beat.
But we're now 10 laps in. Did Cardoza's car fire off better with the slicker track? Will this worn track suit Bearline a little bit more? There's so many questions that one could pose in this situation.
And we don't really know a ton of the answers, because Aiden Bearline, fastest in qualifying, was in heat race number 1, won that heat race. That was the freshest track we have seen all night long. Landon Cardoza, he wasn't that much different, only in heat race number 5, I believe, and that wasn't nearly as worn as it was towards the end of our alphabet soup. We don't know how any of the drivers are going to fight on a worn track.
Cardoza was trying to sneak to jump the restart, but Beerline played it better. Allows Cardoza to feel some pressure from behind. Kramer not going to take advantage, as again Cardoza rips the outside groove, rips the outside of the track. Harris fires it down the inside of Kramer as they fight for third.
Harris gets that third spot away from Jeff Kremer. Kremer makes a little bit of contact to the back bumper, but now Kremer on a slide job with Sean Timmerman. That's Joey Lattissier down to the inside as well, looking for a bit more success as Clayton Davies watches behind. Timmerman goes for 5th on Kremer. He'll get 4th place away, and Gunnar Harris trying to set his eyes on Landon Cardoza for 2nd.
Up front, Cardoza is working all over the rear of your race leader. Beerline has looked like the car to beat from the very moment they rolled off the truck for practice. Fastest in qualifying, dominant in his heat race. Cardoza has come alive and is swinging for the fences as we come to the end of lap 15.
Nearing halfway done with the 2022 Knoxville Nationals feature race. Cardoza up by that outside wall, running the cushion. Can Gunnar Harris also catch up, make it a 3-man fight for the win? What can Sean Timmerman do? He showed he's got a car to contend. Jeff Kremer and Clayton Davies still fighting behind for P5.
Love this type of racing. I don't think we're done with the cautions just yet. You feel in the air there's still something left to play its part and twist the story. 22 started, 18 are still running, all left on the leading lap. Bowen Smith getting bullied, first by Johnny Anderson. Here comes Kenny Hoffman to slide through as well.
That's Hoffman on Bowen Smith for P12. He gets it. Kevin Howie back here as well. 3 wide for a moment as we sit on board with now up to Tanner Miller, the Pennsylvania native. Sees the 3 wide in front of him as Miller runs P15.
We are getting the requests for the Miller can, so we will acquiesce. However, for now, we focus on the battle for second. Cardoza sliding backwards. Harris gets back up into second. Now Beerline 1 second clear. Was this the opportunity that Beerline needed to break away to put this beyond a shadow of a doubt?
Last couple of laps, Cardoza has been hitting the wall. He does it again as Gunnar Harris trying to hold on to the 2nd spot. He got aggressive on the defense that time by 15 to go, and they come across the start-finish line. Side by side again through turn 1. Cardoza on the inside. Slide job complete. Harris trying to go for the crossover move to the middle line. Side by side again down the back straightaway.
It's beautiful fighting. However, they lose time lap after lap. Last time by more than 1/10 of a second. Your race leader gained on this battle for second. We jump on board with our kind camera car, Sean Timmerman, up in the highest groove, and as the track has progressed, everyone has migrated up top. Timmerman went for the move. Cardoza blocked him off. Contact between the two of them. Somehow they all hang on.
Cardoza keeps Timmerman behind, but he can't get back by Gunnar Harris. Both of them back up to the cushion. Cardoza got a great run, but Gunnar Harris parked that number 54 on the outside line, so he stays in P2, but there is the caution flag. Sean Timmerman's around in 3.
It had gone so well until it came unstuck. They slow it down again, and for Timmerman, from inside of your top 5, he ends this race watching from the sidelines. Let's pick up the replay, and we pick it up after he has already done a full 360. But we'll take another look at the number 52. High Commitment was trying to close, but just flirts too close with the wall, tags it, and goes around.
And unfortunate for Sean Timmerman, who was one of the drivers fighting for a top 5 spot here in this feature. As we sit on board now with Clayton Davies, the Australian, looking up at this battle. And there is Timmerman into the wall, and Davies barely misses it.
Sometimes the iRacing gods are on your side, it turns out.
Yeah, they were definitely on Clayton Davies' side there, but he's still trying to get himself back up into that lead group, but he is close. It's Beerline, Harris, Cardoza, Davies in 4th, and then Ryan Avila at the edge of the top 5. We're going to be going back racing with 12 to go, Arjuna. That's still a good bit of time left.
Still plenty of time to go. Even though, in terms of time if we go green, it could be a 3-minute race. It will be the longest 3 minutes of some of these drivers' virtual careers. Cardoza no longer running in second. Harris in front of him. Yes, Beerline has been reeled back in by virtue of this caution. Surely, he has still got the strongest car inside of the top 5.
But how aggressive is Gunnar Harris going to get? We saw how aggressive he was for second on Landon Cardoza. If he has an opportunity to get by Aiden Bearline, I don't think he is going to hold any punches back. Davies sitting in fourth. I know how aggressive he can race. What's he willing to do for a Knoxville Nationals feature win?
Cardoza has tried 5 times this week to race the Knoxville Nationals. This, the 6th, is the most important. Good start from Beerline again, who picks up the throttle, gets us underway. Harris feels the pressure from Cardoza. He'll go down low and try a different line. Cardoza rips the outside and runs his way to second.
Almost a second, side by side. Harris back to the bottom, slide job move, back to the cushion. Now Cardoza from the cushion to the middle, trying to take the spot. Caution flag out again as we have another stack up on the track.
It's Alex Hanna this time that I believe has had an issue in his number 2 machine. We'll see if we can pick apart what's happened to him, as yet again we say cautions breed cautions and we will slow it down. We saw the aftermath spun by himself. Again, right rear up in the wall. Gonna cloud to the right-hand side. We'll get a hefty bit of contact there. It was lucky it was not a whole bit worse.
We'll grab another look at that replay. Up by the cushion, and another driver flying a little bit too close to the sun on board. Bowen Smith, and just gets tagged in the rear end of that car, and nothing really Bowen Smith could have done there for the Pennsylvania native.
Sometimes just how it goes. He will pull it, though, down on towards pit road. Clearly some damage on his car. We'll restart with 11 to go. Beerline got a good jump. Cardoza still looks hungry. Harris looks quite good to tuck down low and be able to fight back. It will all be about timing the restart, not allowing Beerline to break away, have some separation in those opening laps.
Beerline has been timing these restarts anything but perfect. It's been really the restart game for Aiden Beerline, and he's been winning. Can Gunnar Harris time this restart perfect and try and get by Aiden Beerline before he has an opportunity to pull away? Going green with 11 laps to go. He doesn't have a lot of time to chase him back down, especially if Harris is going to have Landon Cardoza in his back mirror for the entire rest of this race.
It will be crunch time. Could someone else spoil the party? Avila is up into the top 8, quietly working his way forward. Is there anyone else ready to spring a surprise? Maybe someone patiently waiting after working their way through the alphabet soup. But it is the dominant force that Aiden Beerline ready to get us back underway. A good launch. However, Harris and Cardoza keep him honest all the way into turn number 1. Cardoza again commits to the outside groove, trying to find some momentum, trying to find second. It doesn't work. Harris holds off for now.
Clayton Davies trying to go for third. He runs the bottom, but Cardoza with a big run on the cushion. Harris makes contact with the wall in the front straightaway. Beerline to the top side. Harris to the bottom, goes for the slider, but he stalls out in the middle of 1 and 2. Harris has to settle for second place, but the battle for the race lead is on as Beerline goes back to the wall.
They're getting more curious now at this point. With 10 to go, they realize that if they haven't figured out what they need to do in those closing stages, they're in trouble. Beerline will hold on for now. Cardoza continues to rip up high, with Harris trying to find the time to slide up. Finally will get it done. Cardoza trying to go back to the inside.
Cardoza going to take second. There goes the slider
Yellow
again from Harris. And yellow flag out again, and we'll rack him up for another restart. Johnny Anderson involved on the front straightaway.
And with the stop and start nature, does it mean that on this next restart there will be more desperation? Anderson comes across a car that was inside of the wall. Not really much he could do. Right on board with Anderson.
Coming through turns 3 and 4, right up by that cushion. Oh my, that was the driver in front of him hitting the wall. That I believe is Aiden Forster. Yes, it is. So the number 20 speed shop 51 black and green entry hits the wall, spins out, and unfortunately a very, very bad spot for Alex Hanna to be in. For Johnny Anderson, excuse me.
Yeah, it turns out, by the way, that offering to our big boss at RaceSpot, Hugo Luis, to commentate and produce this broadcast behind the scenes. Maybe not my wisest idea. It has been one of the most frenetic nights that I've ever had. And Josh, we've commentated on the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series.
Yeah, it's just so much quicker. Of course, we talked about the short tracks of E-Short Course, Wild Horse Pass, and Wild West being very, very frantic. Here, it's even worse because they have about the same amount of horsepower, 410 sprint cars, 410 horsepower, but the power to weight ratio is so different. These 410 sprint cars are so powerful, you can get a wheelie in these sprint cars if you go full throttle from a stand. These cars have insane power to weight ratios that it makes them not a lot of horsepower, but still keep speeds over 100 miles an hour while sliding sideways.
They are beasts, and anytime you let me out in one of these in iRacing, I usually end up pointed in the wrong direction, the way I was trying to come from, not go to. So, 22 started, remember. Believe we're down to 16 left. It has been a tough one for many. Anderson able to stay on the lead lap after taking some service. What does the end of this race have in store for us? Beerline, Cardosa, and Harris, are they ready to brawl to the very dying depths of this race? Will Beerline be able to break away? Cardosa again, trying to time it, but Beerline jukes him. Cardosa will feel the pressure from behind. It's a great start from Beerline.
Beautiful start from Aiden Beerline, but to second goes Gunnar Harris. Landon Cardosa up by the cushion, trying to make it work, and he does for a moment. He had second, but Harris will take that second spot back with a slide job. Cardosa back to the middle line. He'll take second back to one.
The more you fight, the more you let Beerline off the hook. Our Miller fans will be delighted to hear that he's up inside of the top 10 after starting down in 17th position. Can he continue to work forward as we approach 5 laps to go? Cardosa gets a stranglehold on second for the time being. However, it's Beerline that continues to lead.
And they continue to race now as they come across the start-finish line. This time by, it will be 4 laps to go. Can anybody reel in Aiden Beerline? To second place goes Cardosa. We know what Harris is going to do. He's going to go back for the crossover move. On board with Ryan Avila. Front row seat for the side-by-side battle for second place as they go to turn 3.
And going for the lead is Harris. Not just content for second. He slid his way potentially to the race lead. Beerline will fight back on this one, but now it is a fight, a 4-way fight for the lead. 3 laps to go. Davies is joining the party as well. It's anyone's guess. Beerline is hung out to dry on the outside line.
Cardosa's into the wall on the cushion as well as Beerline goes back to the inside. Gunnar Harris holds the lead as he goes to the inside in turn 1, trying to protect any slide job that Beerline might be trying to do through turns 3 and 4. White flag out this time by Beerline back to the wall, but Gunnar Harris has the advantage to the white flag.
What a night this has been. Starting in the heat, it was Aiden Beerline that dominated in qualifying. He showed the pace in the heat and then controlled the feature. However, in the dying depths, in the final restart, Gunnar Harris will take advantage, and while Aiden Beerline will fight back, Harris becomes winner number 2 in the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals.
Unbelievable finish. We thought Aiden Beerline might be unstoppable, but Gunnar Harris gets it done.
Incredible stuff. A showcase for what the dirt community can do, and this was not even the World Championship drivers. There is a depth in the community. Gunnar Harris came into this race very much in the mid-pack, rated 27th in terms of iRating out of a field of 60. However, there are days when people can surprise, when people can delight. Today is the day that Gunnar Harris is on top.
And the move was made with a slide job, and Aiden Beerline, just that cushion did not have as much momentum as I think he thought it would have, and Gunnar Harris did everything he could to hold him off, and that was enough to get it done.
Fireworks still going off as Harris is on his side. His donuts maybe not going the way that he would have anticipated, but what a night of action it was from the start of qualifying to the end of the feature. This delivered. Gunnar Harris winner number 2 in this iRacing Knoxville Nationals in front of Aiden Bierlein, who will be disappointed, but there is plenty to smile about. The domination showed from Bierlein throughout the course of the night. Avila able to squeak onto the podium in the dying deaths of the race, with Cardoza sliding to 4th. Clayton Davis in 5th makes up the rest of that leading pack that broke away and fought to the end of the race. Kenny Hoffman, Dykstra, Miller, Howie and Hanna make up the top 10. A good day for the likes of Howie, able to work forward. After coming through our alphabet soup along with Kenny Hoffman behind them. Ladecour, Forster, Klaus, Smith, Washok finish on the lead lap, with Kramer, Anderson inside of the final stages of the race. Timmerman, Allen, English as well, as Smith and Wenzel are retirees from today's activities. And what a day of action it was. Hopefully we get the chance to chat with some of our drivers, but if not, we look forward to what lies in front on the iRacing special event calendar, because next up it is a double-header of NASCAR and Supercars entertainment, as the Bathurst 1000 and NASCAR Bristol gets ready to go in the 3rd week of September.
But take a look at the rest of that schedule as well, Arjuna. How about the SCCA runoffs coming up as well, and Petit Le Mans for the dirt side, or for the road side? How about the dirt road side? Crandon Championship with the NASCAR finale at the Phoenix Raceway. Right after that, another endurance race with the Suzuka 10-hour, but then short track action in the Winter Derby, and we're right back on dirt oval. Much shorter and much more chaotic at the Chili Bowl on December 18th.
Yeah, I had to commentate on the Chili Bowl solo last year. Let's hope that doesn't have to happen again, because it is maybe the only thing more crazy than a race at Knoxville. Of course, of these events, Knoxville was new for 2021. Suzuka was new in 2021 as well. The new addition is that SCCA runoffs, when, of course, we will have a full day of activities, very similar to how this works this week for the Knoxville Nationals. A week of competition, super sessions, setting the grid for the 8-hour day that we will have live on the iRacing Esports Network and on RaceSpotTV. Josh, before we say goodbye, I mean, as always, it's great for you and I to come together, talk about some racing. It feels like we could do this every Wednesday. However, it is a weekend, it is the Knoxville Nationals. The Dirt Oval community got its spotlight. It put on a show.
And that is what Dirt Oval is about. And if you're not done with the Dirt Ovals, a lot different than the sprint cars, but Dirt Late Models racing every Monday night. You can catch all of that on the iRacing Esports Network. And we've got the qualifying series for the Sprint Car World Championship and the Sprint Car World Championship that is coming up at the end of this year and into the beginning of 2023. So a lot on the horizon and a lot happening right now on Dirt Oval.
Yeah, there is a lot going on in the world. We'll see exactly how it will play out, though, as, of course, heading out of Knoxville, focus for many of these drivers will be on the World Championship scene. Monday nights, the World of Outlaws Late Model Butt Kicker Series takes center stage. Of course, qualifying for the sprint cars will begin soon as those drivers gear up for another year of trying to stop the one and only Alex Bergeron. What a day it was, and remember, if you enjoy this type of racing, if you enjoy anything that iRacing has to offer in the diversity that it enjoys, head over to iRacing.com today. New memberships are 40% off. New memberships are 75% off for the next couple of days. There has never been a better time to get on your road to the virtual checkered flag and maybe to join the ranks of the World Championship in one day in the future. Still plenty of action in this iRacing special event calendar coming your way in 2022, and you can catch it all on RaceSpotTV. So make sure you hit the red subscribe button, the bell next to it as well, to get notified every single time we go live with whatever the craziness that we get to broadcast live behind the scenes. On behalf of the team, on behalf of Joshua Lee and myself, Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to have your company here from the sprint car capital of the world. With Tyler Schell stepping aside, a new champion was going to be crowned, and a champion was crowned in style. Gunnar Harris swarming his way past Aiden Bierlein to grab the victory in the dying depths of the 2022 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. We'll see you next time on RaceSpotTV. For now, we say goodbye and so long. Congratulations to Gunnar Harris, a winner in Knoxville.